much exercises have I've done since the last W3. Wow, what a day today. How exciting is this? We've got, I know, where's the girl who did the noise? Could we hear that again? Yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yay! So we're talking about health and fitness and getting your mind feeling good and your body feeling good. And now we're going to talk about how good you feel about your money. Look at the mass exodus out the door. Now I know that there's going to be people in this room that manage their money well and that are happy with things the way they are. But I have to tell you, in the 25 years that I've been doing this, that's not the situation for most people. So about 10 years ago, I started working with this girl, Becky, and she came to me and she was stressed and she was, scared and she was mortified and she just couldn't believe that she couldn't get a handle on her finances. She was in her late 20s and she came to see me and she was just really so petrified to find out how bad it was. And we sat down and looked at it and her situation was really bad. Her debt was so big, it was as big as how much money she made in a year. So for her, that was critical. That was so scary, the fact that she owed as much money as she made in a year. So I said to her, tell me how you feel. Tell me what's going on. And she said, I can't sleep at night. I'm so stressed and so worried about money that I can't sleep at night. I'm fighting with my parents. My friends, I'm fighting with them too because they want to go out all the time and I'll say sure, and the next thing I know I'm putting something on my visa and I have no way of paying it back. So she was really, really scared and really worried that here she was in her late 20s and she would never be able to replace the car that she had, and she really needed her car. And she would never, ever be able to afford to buy a house. And that this was going to be her fate in life. The fact that she was going to have no money, that she was going to live paycheck to paycheck. And she just wouldn't be able to do the things that she thought she wanted to do. And the one thing that resonated with me, she said, I don't dream anymore because I don't think any of them will come true. She was a little hesitant to come and see me, but we did get together. And we went through 3 simple steps so that she could get control of her money. And in the next 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes, no, you'd all be asleep, I'm going to show you what those 3 little steps are. Easy ways so that you can get control of your money. Now, you've probably heard this 100 times before. There's books, thousands of books. I honestly think, I was in Chapters the other day, and I honestly think that it's the biggest section next to romance novels. And funny enough, they're beside each other. I don't know what that means. But it's the biggest section next to romance novels in the store. Is how to manage your money, how to get control out of your money, how to pay off debt, how to stay out of debt, how to get to retirement, how to invest, how not to invest, how to sit on your couch and invest, how to be a couch potato and invest. Well, that goes against everything we're doing here today. So I want you to not be a couch potato. I want you to be active in your control over money. And there's 3 easy steps on how we're going to do it. So Becky knew that she had to get her life together. She had to get her finances together. And we talked about how we were going to do that. So the first thing that we did, the very first thing that we did, was we wrote it down. We wrote down everything. We wrote down her fears, her concerns. We wrote down how much she owed. We wrote down how much she made. We wrote down how much she was fighting with her family, which was a lot. We wrote everything down. And when you do this, it can be an eye-opening experience for people. And I know that because the clients that come to see me, that's what they say. They say, I've never looked at it on one page before. I didn't realize how much the debt was costing me to finance this. I didn't realize how much lack of control I had over my money. And you have to be honest when you write this down for a couple of reasons. You need to be honest with your spouse, honestly with your spouse. You need to be honest with your family. If you owe them money, you need to talk to them about how you're going to get out of it. So you need to be honest with them. But really, you need to be honest with yourself. And I know this because this actually happened to me. So in 1991, my husband and I were newlyweds. And we were living in a basement apartment in Toronto. And we were living in a basement apartment because we wanted to save money for a house. And this was 1991. And in 1991, they were having a housing boom in Toronto, where a tiny house could cost you $175,000, which in today's dollars would be about, I don't know, $3 million or something. But it was a lot of money. And interest rates were 13%. So we were trying to save money to put a down payment down on a house. And one of the ways that we did it is we drove our car to work, one car to work. We both worked downtown, so we went together. And it was kind of nice because we got to talk about, you know, what kind of house we wanted and where we wanted to live and what it was going to be like having our own backyard and not living in a basement apartment. And just kind of talk about life in general. And we had a habit when we got home from work that we walked down to our basement apartment and into the living room. It was kind of an open concept. And we had an answering machine on a table. Now, for those of you who don't know what an answering machine is, I think Mr. Google or Dr. Google or Wikipedia could probably help you. Those were the days before voicemail, but we had an answering machine that you physically, my mother still has an answering machine. So we went over to one of us would go over to the answering machine, we would press the button that said, listen, and we would listen to our messages while we got dinner ready and changed and those kinds of things. So this one particular day, my husband goes over to the answering machine and he presses the listen button, and I was probably in the kitchen, or I don't know, doing something, putting my apron on, getting his slippers, and yeah, he'd laugh if he heard that. So he pressed the listen button, and this is the message we heard. Hello, this is Sergeant Smith from 52 Division, which is the biggest police station in Toronto, downtown. Yes, this is Sergeant Smith speaking. This is a message for Judith Kane. You have over $1,000 in parking tickets. And if you don't make arrangements to come in and pay them tonight, we will send someone to pick you up on a warrant. Now I'm in the kitchen. This is out loud. And my husband is staring at the answering machine. And in the 60 seconds that it took for him to stop looking at the answering machine and turn around and look at me, I had to think of something to say. So what else could I say except, it must be another Judith Kane. And then I kind of giggled because I do that in tough situations, but he didn't laugh. So yeah, that was really a tough moment. So we had a long chat, and then he came down to 52 Division with me while we created a payment plan with them on how I was going to pay back these parking tickets. Now it's different now. You lose your car, you lose your house, you lose your, I don't know, you can never have that many parking tickets because then you can't drive. But back then, here's my husband and I down at 52 Division with all these criminals trying to pay off some parking tickets. So I really learned my lesson, and I never, ever, ever lied to my husband about debt again. Ever. Did I say ever? Never. Except maybe those shoes from the town. No, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. If you're not honest with your spouse, if you're not honest with yourself, if you're not honest with your family, this program will never work for you. These 3 simple steps will not work for you. So we wrote everything down for Becky so that she realized how much she owed and how much the debt was costing her, because she looked at the interest rates that she was paying on the credit cards and the lines of credit, and she had an epiphany and said, I am not ever doing this again. The second thing we did was we created a spending and savings plan. Now that was a bit difficult because she didn't make very much money and she had all this debt. So we went through and she gave me a budget and I laughed, and then we went back and redid it again and said, okay, we have to have something realistic because we need to know how we need a strategy for paying the debt back. So I need you to look at this and say, what is it that you can live with in your budget and save some money? Now I know this sounds a bit odd that when someone is in that much debt that you would consider saving money, but here's the thing. There's a psychological feeling when you see something going down. Even though it's debt that's going down, it's still a downward motion. When you see an arrow going down or when you see something going in a downward motion, there's a psychological effect that happens in your head. So I insisted that she have a bit of a savings plan, and that was about $5 every paycheck, which was every 2 weeks. So even though it was only $5 a paycheck, it was still a visual of going up. So every month or every 4 weeks, she had $10, and it slowly started to build up. So she was paying down her debt. We put her on a spending and saving plan. She was living she moved into her sister's basement, which wasn't really an apartment, but she made it an apartment. And that's what she did to create this spending and savings plan. So we wrote everything down. She was very honest. She created a spending and savings plan that she could live within. And the third and final simple thing that you need to do is to create a get out of debt plan. What I see in my practice are people coming in and they may have credit card debt or they may have a line of credit, but they never seem to get out of it. They pay it off and then it's back on again. Or they pay down their line of credit and then it creeps back up again. So what you're doing is you're doubling and tripling the cost of whatever you're putting on your credit card or your line of credit. And that isn't really having control over your money. So we consolidated her money, her loans, her debt, and the best loan that we could get for her, which was through the TD Bank, was paying it off over 7 years at a rate of 12%. Because when we looked at her finances, her credit was so bad that was the best she could get. So it was really, really ugly. And it was really, really painful. But I have to tell you what Becky did. She got another job and kept her first job. And she lived on the money she made from her first job, and she used the money from her second job to pay off her debt in just over 2 years, and was able to save enough money in that little savings account that we started so that she was able to buy a really cute little garden home. 3 simple steps. That's it. Write it down. Be honest with your spouse. Create a savings and spending and savings plan that you can live within. And create a get out of debt plan. So you might say to me, well, this isn't going to work for me. I've heard this 100 times. One of there's sort of 3 things that I told Becky when she came to see me. One is, never give up. The other is, there's always, always a way out. And the third thing is, you will feel absolute, guaranteed freedom when you have control over your money. Those are the 3 things that I told her. And she believed it. And she did. She got out of debt. She paid off her loan. She bought a house. And she just recently got married. I know. And you know what? She did not go into that marriage with debt. Because if you're single, and I have 5 minutes left, holy crap. Sorry, Rogers. Really, only 5 minutes? Okay. How can you go into a relationship if you have a lot of debt? Or how do you expect to have a great relationship with someone if they're in a lot of debt? So you need to get your finances in order. You need to get control over your money. And I'm going to help you do that. I'm actually going to help you do that. I hope you wrote it down in the little books I gave you with the pen. 3 steps. First step? Very good. Second step? And the third step? Perfect. You're there. You're absolutely there. I know that some of you are struggling. I know that you need some help. So I'm going to be like your CAA triptych. You know when you go on a vacation and you want to go to Arizona, you know it's south and west and you don't know how long it's going to take to get there or how much it's going to cost, and you go to CAA and they give you these cool triptychs. I'm your financial triptych. So starting on October the 10th, I think, we're doing a rebuilding your relationship with money. 5 weeks, $279, but for you guys, I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to take $70 off, and it's $199 for 5 weeks. And you will have complete control over your money by the time this course is over. And if you sign up today, you get a copy of our book, Unstuck, which has our whole program in it. So it's a great deal. And if you do this, if you just buy the book, if you just do those simple things, if you just write it down, create a savings and spending plan, and create a get out of debt plan, you will have complete control over your money. I promise you. You will get out of your money rut and start living the life you want. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for Judith? Thank you, Judith. Take a bow, please.